Hi, good evening. Let's talk about the Spyderco Parata, a knife designed by Paul Alexander, a designer that has been collaborating with Spyderco for a few designs now. If you remember, on my knife review number 1, this is number 3, so thank you for following up with me on my tremendous amount of work. The same guy designed this piece. So Paul Alexander is a mechanical engineer with a PhD, someone who's very interested in getting creative with the way knives lock, the interfaces, the way they close, the way they look. So he's definitely not producing simple looking pieces. Here is one of the most complex looking ones. This is the Spyderco Parata, model number C231GP. A knife that is surprisingly light, really light. I mean, I'm sorry for not having it in front of me, guys, but this is well below 4 ounces in weight. I want to say just over 3, could be 3.2, something in that range, right? So between 3 and 3.5 ounces, which is nothing for a blade that's 3.5 inches in length. The thickness is 0.12 inches. Okay, there's about 1.5 inches in this dimension here. Okay, and the overall is 8 inches, 0.09. Okay, so cutting edge is 3.27 inches. All right, enough with the boring facts. Let's talk about what's interesting here, which is a lot. Okay, so the Parata brings something unique to a folding knife, which is a very broad blade in a compact package. It is really broad with a weird grind, which is about flat. I think it's flat from here to here, and then it comes down to the edge on a very surprisingly steep relief bevel here. I'm not sure why it's not thinner. I get a feeling that it should be thinner for a knife design, in my opinion, for cutting things up in the kitchen. Okay. It's one of the only knives, folding knives, that you can do this with and do it comfortably, especially if you get close to the edge of the counter, right? And you set up your cutting media like this. You're good to go. I mean, you can cut down onions or anything else to tiny little pieces with the precision of a chef's knife, considering the length that you're working with, obviously, very comfortably. I mean, this is made for doing this, in my opinion. It's also made for looking weird and nice, I mean, different. And it's also made for disappearing in the handle. I mean, look at that. Doesn't that look like a knife that's a lot smaller once you deploy it? Look at that, the size of that blade, and in such a narrow handle, it just sort of disappears. That's really well made. I mean, that's a win design-wise. Okay, so the handle is G10. It's not super grippy. It's just your typical Spyderco grippiness. It's thin. It's kind of square over here. Spyderco does the absolute minimum for rounding off the scales. I always believe that they should do a better job here on these squares. I know Sal and company at Spyderco design knives as if they need to be leaving in the pocket as flat as possible, with the sole purpose of cutting something and going back in the pocket, right? I understand that, but is that going to affect the cost that much? Just knocking off those square edges in here? I think we should get more there. Okay, just do it for us, please. Deep carry pocket clip, with the exception of a lanyard hole here that you get. Again, these should be probably here if the design allowed it, but with such a broad blade, good luck trying to accomplish that. Okay, maybe possible if you dispense with it completely. Okay, elegant looking knife in its own way, right? Not a lot of things deviating your attention from the fact that it's a folded knife, right? Pivot. This is the pivot for the stop lock over here. Okay, these are the studs, very close very close in resemblance to the axis lock in design wise. Okay, the operation is about lifting it up. When it's locked in, you lift it up and it releases the blade. I haven't examined it in detail to give you many specifics about it. First time that I see it, I have to say that it's working well. It's definitely easy to use, which is something that Spyderco talks about in their literature. It is easy to actuate, okay? There's a lot of tension here though. It is easy, but there is tension. It's just very natural to slide it up. It's surprisingly, you don't need to press, you don't need to pull, you're pushing up, yet it feels natural. That's interesting, the way they accomplish that. On the lock though, once this baby is deployed, there is more play than I like to see. This is almost Endura and Delica level of play from back in 2010. I don't like it. It should be locking a lot better. This is up and down. Side to side is perfect, no issues there, but up and down, no way. Now, is it going to fold on you and cut your fingers? Probably not, right? Is it going to? No. For what you're going to use it, you're going to slice things up in the kitchen, you're going to carve carefully and whatever media, but you're not going to abuse it. Not a beautiful knife like this. These are hard to get. They are expensive. They are more expensive than they should be, in my opinion. Hard to find them used. Since I'm on the money subject, I want to say that it's probably not a knife that I'm going to keep. I'm not saying that of the Ikushi. The Ikushi by the same designer and maker is going to be with me probably forever. Not this guy. The main reason behind it is the thickness behind the edge, the performance when cutting, the way that I demonstrated earlier, guys, is not as high as I would expect this design to be at. It just doesn't cut that well, and it is sharp. You know, I put the same level of the same effort to sharpen it that I put on my other VG10 blades, and this guy just doesn't cut that well. It just doesn't. It looks like it will, but it doesn't. I'm not sure what's going on. Perhaps because the grind itself is not very precise. I don't know. It's just, I think it's a little bit too thick, maybe too broad. So there's a lot of resistance as you're cutting down things. But back to the reason why I'm not keeping it is because mostly that lock play up and down, it just annoys the heck out of me for this price. And the cutting performance, it's just not there. Okay, however, I don't want to discourage the makers, the people behind this lovely looking piece and very, want to say, forward looking design. Okay, don't stop there and try to maybe come up with similar weirdly looking designs for us to evaluate. This one just didn't sing to me. Okay, on a comfort level, this guy reminds me, and this is a big plus, reminds me of the ergonomics behind the Kali series, especially the 3.5. This interface right here, this is all Kali. So Paul Alexander has been studying the Kali 3.5 because if you took a picture of this guy here, it's about the same as the 3.5. At least the way it feels. I'm not sure so sure about the looks, but the way it feels, Kali 3.5 all the way. And we know that the 3.5 is one of Spyderco's better designs. Okay. The roundness here, the way that it slopes down without any hard stops. Okay. If you want to know what a hard stop means, let me see if I can show you a knife that does that. Yeah, nothing on the table right now. I have a lot of good ergonomic knives. I was going to talk about this guy, but that's perfectly round. This guy is perfectly round in the back as well. This guy too. Alright, so it's round and comfortable, that's a plus. The thumb rests over here, which is not ideal. but the rest of your hand and fingers are in very comfortable spots. If you choke up, you're also comfortable without jimping here. You can bring it up even more, okay? And you feel like you are in control. Absolutely, this is amazing grip, guys. It really is. The handle length is sufficient. My hands are large, by the way, okay? So the ergonomics are a big plus on this baby. The way you can rotate your hand, move around to scrape, do different things. It is a comfortable knife. All right, let me wipe it down. It's been dirty all this time. Okay, so to wrap it up, I was talking about why I'm not keeping it. I was talking about the cutting performance, the cost, and the blade performance. Okay, deployment wise, sorry, knocked the camera over. Deployment wise, little resistance here, very little, but then the resistance increases as you get closer to the lock position. Okay. Alright guys, I'm gonna leave it up to you in terms of researching this baby to see if it's something that you would like to add to your collection. Yes, it is weird looking. Yes, it looks interesting. It cuts, it's made to cut well, but in my opinion it doesn't achieve that objective that well compared to other slicey Spideys. It's just fun to have, you know. I think it's a fun piece with this innovative lock, deep carry clip, and the amazing lightweight. Okay, Spyderco Parata. Make your own conclusions. I made mine for sure.